At sunrise, the vineyard should have been quiet, but the sound of engines shattered the calm. Dust rose as heavy machines rolled forward, and everyone watching felt a knot tighten. This story promises a truth the signs never showed, and a deed that would flip power in seconds. The vineyard belonged to a patient man named Elias, who had poured years into the soil, trusting rules would protect honest work. The HOA claimed authority, waving notices and warnings, insisting the land broke some rule no one remembered. Neighbors whispered, cameras came out, and pressure mounted while Elias stood still, listening, calculating, breathing through the noise. He believed the day would expose something hidden. A detail buried deeper than roots. The machines paused, the workers waited, and the air carried a promise that the truth would arrive with someone unexpected, changing everything before sunset. Hope mixed with fear as authority pressed closer, and every glance asked who truly owned the ground beneath their feet. Elias felt time slow, knowing proof waits quietly, and when shown, silence would fall hard. That moment crept nearer with each passing second. Everyone held their breath. Now, the HOA president arrived with confident steps, pointing toward the rows of grapes as if the future was already decided. Papers were read aloud, rules quoted, and a deadline declared, each word landing like a stone. Viewers were promised answers, because Elias smiled slightly, knowing a deeper record existed. Neighbors remembered past meetings where voices were ignored and votes felt rushed. Today felt different. Elias asked for time, not mercy, requesting an official check before any damage began. The request was denied, and engines rumbled again, louder, closer, final. Yet Elias made a quiet call, his voice steady, explaining the urgency to someone who understood land and law. He said only, "Bring the book, the old one." Workers hesitated, sensing the shift, while the HOA insisted momentum would win. The promise lingered that truth travels faster than threats when guided by patience. Cameras kept rolling, hearts pounding, as the call echoed into the morning. Everyone sensed a turn coming, unsure who would stand tall when records met reality. The machines idled, waiting for permission that suddenly felt uncertain. Time stretched thin, testing pride and patience alike. Hold fast. A sheriff's cruiser appeared at the road's edge, sunlight flashing across the badge. The crowd leaned forward as if pulled by gravity. The promise returned, because this arrival meant verification, not opinion, and the truth was about to be read aloud. The sheriff greeted both sides calmly, requesting documents with a practiced hand. The HOA produced copies, glossy and new. Elias offered a worn folder, edges soft from years of use. Pages turned slowly, the sound louder than engines. Names, dates, boundaries, all aligned with care. As the sheriff traced a line with a finger, faces shifted. The vineyard's border extended farther than anyone admitted. A clause, overlooked and inconvenient, placed authority elsewhere. Silence spread, thick and undeniable, as realization set in. The payoff hovered close, a single sentence away from ending the standoff. Neighbors exchanged looks, understanding that power bends when facts refuse to move. The machine stayed still, as if listening to history correct the present. Breath caught, hearts raced, and every eye fixed on the page. The moment felt earned, heavy, and impossible to ignore. Truth waited patiently to be spoken. Right there. Nowhere. The sheriff cleared the throat and read the clause that changed everything. The land, including the vineyard, sat outside HOA reach, protected by an older deed tied to the county. The promise paid off as certainty replaced noise, faces drained of color. The HOA president stepped back, words failing to form. Workers shut down engines, dust settling like a curtain closing. Elias did not celebrate, he simply nodded, relief softening his shoulders. Years of patience had finally spoken louder than authority. Neighbors felt the shift ripple outward, realizing how easily lines can be crossed when no one checks the map. The sheriff returned the folder, advising calm and compliance. A wrong had been stopped without force, guided by record and restraint. The payoff felt clean, precise, and deeply satisfying. Cameras captured the quiet victory, not loud, but lasting. The vineyard stood unharmed, leaves bright under honest daylight. Pride gave way to perspective as rules found their proper place. The lesson settled in, clear and firm. Paper can protect dreams when people choose to read. Calm returns slowly, like wind easing after a storm. Balance restored. Justice, quietly witnessed. End. After the crowd thinned, Elias walked the rows, touching leaves like old friends. The hook had drawn attention, but the promise lingered: consequences would follow truth. HOA emails arrived later, careful and apologetic, signaling a shift no meeting had achieved. Neighbors shared the clip, recognizing themselves in the fear and relief. The vineyard became a symbol of checking power with preparation. Elias met with the county to ensure markers were clear, boundaries respected, and records accessible to all. What mattered most was not victory, but clarity. When rules align with reality, communities breathe easier. The day ended without cheers, yet something stronger remained: confidence rooted in knowledge. The payoff echoed beyond the fence, encouraging others to verify their ground. Stories spread, reminding viewers that calm resolve can change outcomes. The vineyard glowed under steady sun, unchanged, protected. Trust rebuilt slowly, one verified line at a time. People learned to ask for documents, not permission. Preparation proved stronger than pressure. The lesson stayed, clear and shareable. Calm confidence replaced fear. A quiet win. Remembered. Shared widely. Still growing. Weeks later, the HOA revised policies, citing transparency and review. The hook had sparked attention, but the promise matured into reform. Elias attended the meeting quietly, watching as maps replaced assumptions and process replaced haste. Residents spoke with confidence, referencing records and shared links. The vineyard story served as a guide, not a grudge. Authority learned limits, and neighbors learned leverage through knowledge. Change felt slow, but real. The sheriff's visit became a footnote, while the deed became a teacher. The community found balance, proving that calm facts can reshape loud systems. The payoff lingered, measured in trust regained and rules refined. Meetings ended earlier, voices heard, tempers cooled. Documentation became standard, not optional. The vineyard thrived, fruit forming in patient rows. Lessons traveled beyond the fence line. Viewers felt empowered, not angry. Knowledge stood taller than noise. Calm proof changed minds. Progress continued. Slowly, steadily. Together. Community strengthened through clarity. Trust returned. Balance held. The message stuck. Facts matter. Always. Remember this. Check the deed before engines start. Always. The vineyard story settled into legend, not for spectacle, but for restraint. The hook delivered truth, the promise kept, and the payoff clear. A deed can stop machines and restore balance. Elias returned to tending rows, content with quiet outcomes. Viewers carried the lesson forward, checking records, asking questions, and choosing calm resolve. The community stood steadier, guided by facts and fairness. The final twist was never power, but preparation, revealed at the right moment. The message felt complete, practical, and hopeful for anyone watching. It reminded people that calm evidence can outlast loud pressure. Communities grow safer when lines are clear and respected. The vineyard kept growing. Season after season. Viewers felt ready to stand their ground responsibly. Knowledge became the hero of the day. Preparation won without noise. Facts stood firm. Calm prevailed. The lesson stayed. Shared and saved. Passed along. Remembered. Used again. When needed. Always. Prepared. Ready, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.